It's rather like Speedway, except that it takes place on grass.
All you need for a grass track meeting is a fairground, a field, and the fans will flock in. Around 6,000 of them packed this field near Salisbury, knowing they were set for one of the best grass track meetings for years. The 1987 Ace of Aces was the first full international grass track meeting to take place in Britain for 10 years. 500cc solo machines based on conventional speedway bikes. 1,000cc sidecars closely related to nothing, and their riders and passengers really are a breed apart. The solo men would include some of the top speedway names around, including Denmark's Hans Nielsen, the current world champion. Czechoslovakia's Jiří Stankel, veteran of 22 world finals. From America, Sam Ermolenko, competing just 6 weeks after breaking his wrist and ankle. And the British Speedway captain Simon Wigg, runner-up in the World Long Track final and a proven winner on grass. And there's the grass track specialist. British #1 and Masters champion is Martin Hagen. And a tough competitor on both cinders and grass, Bellevue's Chris Morton. So while the riders switch happily between the different demands of the two surfaces, the bikes are specially adapted, as Simon Wigg explains.
Well, as you can see, it's very different to the sort of thing that you'd ever see anybody riding down the road on. But we've basically got a 500cc single-cylinder 4-valve engine. That's made by Don Godden down in Kent there. And we've got suspension on the back, which we don't have on Speedway. Some of the tracks are fairly rough and bumpy throughout Europe, and you need a bit of that to cushion the ride. Got a bigger back wheel. The Speedway bikes have smaller back wheels. You really need this to bite into the grass much more. We've got a 2-speed semi-automatic gearbox. You load that into first gear on the start, and then we've got a little trigger on the handlebars here. When you go from the start, you go 20-30 yards from the start and then pull the gear change, and it automatically shifts into top gear. We've got the fuel tank there, that's methanol, that's a wood alcohol. That's what all the Speedway machines run on, and grass track bikes. It's a similar thing to a Speedway bike, but with various modifications to suit the conditions.
Wigg's machinery immaculately prepared and expertly handled as he leads the field away in one of the early heats. Each rider has to ride four lap heats. The points scored in those heats decide qualification for the Ace of Aces final. And there were few doubts that Simon Wigg would be among the finalists. This was the kind of form he showed in his first 3 races. Circuit, an undulating 650 metres, and although the track is prepared and graded, the riders still have to battle the natural hazards of bumps and flying stones. Grass track is quite possibly the oldest form of motorcycle sport. The circuit may look primitive, but it was with grass track that Brands Hatch started life in 1928, and the sport has flourished, especially in southern England, ever since then. Simon Wigg comfortably leads home his second heat of the day. He looks in the kind of form that could help him regain the title he won in 1981 and 84. The solo riders do it anti-clockwise, the sidecar pairings do it the other way. The sidecar's on the left of the machines, and this is the driver's eye view. And you can tell from the rough ride that it's a brave man who can throw his weight around in the sidecar. Definitely no job for a woman, so it may surprise you to know that the defending champions are Paul Pinfold behind the handlebars, with his niece Lisa hanging on to the sidecar.
I think the first meeting was when I was six weeks old, so from then onwards I've always been into it. And then I had a few practices before we did our first meeting, and then here I am.
Tell us a little bit about the passenger's role. Exactly how strong do you have to be?
Fairly strong, but you have to have quite a good balance as well. Into corners, when you go into the corner, you have to get right forward so your weight's off the back wheel, the wheel comes round, and then halfway into the corner you sort of slide back a bit, and then as you're out of the corner you slide right back to get enough drive on the back wheel, put your weight below the axle on the back wheel, and then you should take off.
We've seen the driver's eye view. This is grass track racing if you're a mere passenger. Qualifying for the final with 3 first places. But what opposition they get from the likes of Steve Jewison and Dave Ward. They'd also qualified with 3 first places. Roger Misa and Dave Harris were also popular favourites. So this is the lineup for the Ace of Aces sidecar final. The rest had been mere sparring, ready for the 4-lap battle in the final. And it's a final that Paul Pinfold has won for the last 2 years. Only last year did he have Lisa as passenger. There's no doubting the duo's determination to retain the title. They come to the line as pumped up as any of the opposition. In fact, a little over-eager to get on with things. It's a friendly sport, but don't expect too much gentlemanly conduct with a £500 top prize at stake. So little assistance for Lisa in getting the 1000cc Suzuki back to the start line. Then a really perfect start, especially for the Pinfolds. They surge to the front like a couple of modern-day Ben-Hurs to grab the all-important lead at the first corner. But the pack aren't allowing them to get away. Close behind, Misa and Harris, Jewison and Ward. Budgets aren't big in sidecar racing, and the Pinfold Suzuki, although setting the pace, is known to be off-song, or to quote another source, it's clapped. So that worried look down from Paul Pinfold is ominous. And sure enough, end of the second lap, they lose power, probably the result of a dropped valve, and through into the lead go Roger Misa and Dave Harris. The Pinfolds now back in third, as in second place are Steve Jewison and Dave Ward. Misa and Harris on a V4 Honda. They recently lost the Grasstrack Masters title to the combination pushing them in second place, Jewison and Ward. But Roger Misa and Dave Harris have ridden the perfect race to stave off the challenge and claim the Ace of Aces title that's eluded them for so long. Slightly less exultant finish for Ken Lane and Paul Ulrich, but the 6th place they're claiming is still worth £50 in prize money. But the £500 top prize goes to Roger Misa and Dave Harris on their V4 Honda. They take the title from Jewison and Ward, with the defending champions, the Pinfolds, hanging on to third. Now back to the solos, and this is world champion Hans Nielsen. He'd been plagued by mechanical problems and wouldn't make it to the final. Safely through, Britain's most experienced grass track rider, and in many ways the pioneer of the modern sport, Martin Hagen. Coincidentally, 4 of the other top qualifiers, Steve Schofield, Andy Smith, Simon Wigg and Chris Morton, all met in the last heat before the final and provided a taste of the kind of racing that final would produce. Battling for the lead, Steve Schofield, 3 times winner of the Ace of Aces. Simon Wigg trying to force his way down the inside. 3rd place and right in contention, Chris Morton. And this tight battling for the right line, struggling for the best traction, is grass track at its best.
Schofield is in there. Schofield at the inside line. Steve Schofield,
the hands go up as the yellow flags come out. Andy Riley is the man who's come down. A suspected ankle injury receives immediate attention. Crashes were rare at the meeting. Serious injury, fortunately, is equally rare in the sport. But the crowd could look forward to a rerun of an action-packed heat. Although 4 riders here already in the final, the top place man would receive first choice for the all-important starting position in that race. It's Schofield, Morton and Wigg again. This time Wigg struggles for grip on the first bend and Schofield is away, leading from Morton. It's a long way round the outside for Morton. Schofield is the man who gets his wheels back in line first. But at the next bend, Morton goes for the inside. It looks tight, but Morton is just in front and now has the all-important inside line. With all his great experience, Chris Morton is able to hang on to that inside line, riding Schofield out into the loose stuff on the outside of the bends where the grip is hard to find, and Morton is away. Chris Morton riding Peter Collins' Works Yawa, the England international looking for his first grass track win since he took the 350cc title in 1975 when he was just 17 years old. His top qualifier for the final after a very hard heat.
Steve Schofield was just ahead of me, but I went to go round him and it just about paid off, but he wasn't giving in. He fought back, nearly got round me again, but tough old race that. Track's getting a bit bumpy now and all, it's throwing us around a bit, but really enjoying it today. It's fantastic.
So you're going to the final unbeaten. What are your thoughts on that final?
It's going to be tough, obviously, because you've got all the rest of the lads who are going well. Martin Hagen's going very well. And it's going to be a tough final. You've got to make the start, really. If you've got 4 blokes in front of you of the calibre we've got here, then you've really no chance. So you've got to be second or third, or in front going into the final, into the first corner.
And there's more psychology than real advantage in choosing that right gate for the start. Simon Wigg ponders the problem. But after all, it's a long run down to that all-important first corner. So the Ace of Aces final, last race of the meeting, and the track will be perfect. Chris Morton chooses the inside line. Simon Wigg is in the centre of the pack, and it's a 10-man race. Trevor Banks, number 2 there, eager to get on with it. He's the defending champion. But alongside him, the hard-charging number 6, Steve Schofield. He's the man to watch off the start line. Steve Schofield has ridden a superb first bend and just gets his wheel in front of Andy Smith. Then it's Trevor Banks, and these 3 already opening a gap. Second lap, and Banks makes a powerful run at Smith to grab second. And now he's challenging the leader, Schofield. 3, and Banks finds the grip in exactly the same place, and he's past Schofield and into the lead. But the defending champion will surely challenge again. Brave dive down the inside, and the lead is back with Schofield, but can he hang on as Banks switches back to attack the final corner? It looks neck and neck, advantage possibly with Schofield, but Banks has picked up a puncture, and it's victory for Steve Schofield. Schofield takes the title for the 4th time, but what a last lap. It did look possibly as if Banks was poised to snatch the lead back, but he fights just a little for control at that point there, and that's the moment that his back wheel punctured and the race was lost.
Steve, let you get your helmet off. Many congratulations. You won here before, of course. That's what the 4th win here. Have you had a closer one than that?
They're all close, but it's nice to win every time, you know. I thought Trevor had done enough to done me, you know. He came past me around the top, you know. I know he had a big slick patch, but I was fortunate and pretty lucky because I think he had a puncher at the end of the race, so...
That's right, yeah.
Bit of a shame for Trev, but I'm not complaining.
Trevor Banks has joined us. The story of that last lap, you thought you had it?
Oh, I thought I had it, but I ended up with getting a puncher up the top end on the back wheel, so I just lost all traction and everything. But I just kept going and luckily finished 2nd. But Steve and me were having a good race, and it was good, you know. It was a brilliant race, really, wasn't it, Steve? It was good. I mean, when Steve come back underneath me, I thought that I could get back underneath him coming into this turn, but with the flat tyre, it was just useless.
So that's Grasstrack, not short on slick presentation and offering the explanation why 6,000 people are prepared to brave the flying stones of a bleak Wiltshire field. Full result, Andy Smith got 3rd place behind Trevor Banks. Simon Wigg took 4th, but victory and the top prize of £500 went to Steve Schofield.
Steve Schofield!
Of good champagne as usual. Steve Ryder reporting. He told me he was going to be one of the sidecar passengers. Must have thought better of it, I suppose. I don't know. We're off racing once again now.